أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وحجة رب العالمين، المنتجب في الميثاق المصطفى في الضلال المطهر من كل آفة، البريء من كل عيب، المؤمل للنجاة، المرتجى للشفاعة، المفوض إليه دين الله. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخته العقيلة عقيلة الطالبيين زينب الكبرى وأخيه أبا الفضل العباس ورحمة الله وبركاته. من كتاب له للإمام أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام، إلى ابنه الإمام الحسن المجتبى عليه السلام، أنه قال: وجدتك بعضي بل وجدتك كلي، حتى كأن شيئا لو أصابك أصابني، وكأن الموت لو أتاك أتاني، فعناني من أمرك ما يعنني من أمر نفسي، فكتبت إليك مستظهرا به إن أنا بقيت لك أو فنيت. This is a letter that the Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdal salati wassalam, wrote after the war of Saffin to his first son, Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal salati wassalam. It is the first letter to be written in history that contains merely ethical guidance from a father to his beloved son. And after the letter of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib to his companion Malik al-Ashtar in the book Nahj al-Balagha, this letter is considered as the longest letter in the book Nahj al-Balagha. Letter 31, there are more than 130 points that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdal salati wassalam brings forward to his son, and it is also considered as the last will of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib to his son Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba Kareem Ahl al-Bayt. And in this couple of nights, inshallah, we go through this letter. Looking at this letter, you find that the Imam has brought up many points and that is needed today in this time and age, especially after what we find in the 21st century and going forward that it's becoming harder and harder for a father, for a mother to upbring their offsprings. When it comes to the huquq, if you look at the Charter of Rights, for example, رسالة الحقوق of Imam زين العابدين علي ibn الحسين عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام, you find that one of the huquq that the Imam speaks about is the haqq, is the right of the child over the father. Now, if I look at many rights that the child has, some people think it's more of the materialistic things that feed him, nurture him, buy a house, pay the mortgage, pay the bills, and that is it. Just doing that, this is enough. But of course, it's more than this. There are more important factors that come in line. And here, the Imam has put for us this beautiful manuscript, this guideline, even though this is written to Imam al-Hasan Almujtaba, Sabt al-Akbar. You find it that it's addressing every father and every son. It addresses every father when it comes to upbringing their children, and addresses every son or what is required. And the love of the father toward his son, the love of a parent toward their children, especially today. This is a letter, this is a guideline that it's really, really needed. In the time of the alphabet community, in the time that you find schools today, in this time and age, they have brought forward many lessons that they get your children astray. The Imam starts with this, of course. The Imam says, من الوالد الفان, from a father that is close to death. This letter was written 40 AH, before the martyrdom of the Imam, in a couple of years or 1 year or so. المقر للزمان, the Imam says, a father that has come forward close to death, and a father that has many maybe days left or short days left. The Imam then continues, of course, talking about himself as an individual, to the part the Imam talks about the characteristics of Imam al-Hasan, but not just Imam al-Hasan, but any human being. If you look at it, is not talking about Imam al-Hasan as precisely about Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, Kareem Ahl al-Bayt alayhi afdal salati wassalam, but here he's bringing up many of the characteristics of every human being. The Imam says to his son that, "Oh son," of course this is a very, very long letter to which the Imam is giving this beautiful manuscript, and the Imam here continues with his introduction. This is just verily the introduction of the letter before the Imam goes into the letter itself. إلى المولود المؤمل ما لا يدرك. What? To my son that has many wishes, that he wants to achieve these goals, but he will not achieve any of them. And of course, the Imam is not talking precisely about Imam al-Hasan here. He's talking about every human being that walks on this earth. Why? Because every one of us, if you look at our lives, we have many wishes, we have many goals, many dreams. And none of us will come to the part that we have gotten all of those that we wished for. And if you go back to the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Jibreel. He said, Jibreel, when is it that you smile? Is there any time that you smile? He said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. The only place I smile is when I smile at the Bani Adam, the sons of Adam. He said, when? He said, when I see this individual runs throughout the day, 24/7 he's running. And I smile, I have that smile that I know that this person will never, ever, ever get into comfort. What he's looking for will never be achieved in this dunya. And that's comfort, complete comfort, raha. It will never be achieved. And I smile at that you're going after something that before you, millions of people, billions of people tried to get this, contain it, to achieve this dream, to achieve this goal. None of them did. And the Imam is saying this to Imam Hasan Almujtaba alayhi afdalu salati wassalam. Al-saliku sabilu man qad halak. And he's going into the path of those that died before him. They all died. And you are also going to die. Of course, this is a letter from the Imam of the eloquency. So whatever you here translate and go into definition of this letter, it needs more and more. Every words of the Imam needs a whole lecture to put it in a fair way for someone to explain it. So the Imam says, the Imam here then goes into what? غرض الأسقام. And that individual, that human being, has many what? Faults. Not just faults. Asqam means what? Health factors. That person becomes sick. He's very fragile. Human beings altogether, we are very fragile. We have all sort of what we call is sickness that strikes us. وَرَهِينَةِ الْأَيَّامِ. وَرَهِينَةِ الْأَيَّامِ, if you look at that your days are numbered. Again, the Imam goes back to what death is, because death cannot be explained or defined in one way or form. It's more than that. وَرَهِينَةِ الْأَيَّامِ means that there are days. Yesterday was yesterday. That was the what? The past. And now is present. And tomorrow is what? The future. But yesterday became what? History. That means what? That we are contained for this 1 hour. We are contained for this 1 day, for this 1 week, for this 1 month. It's not just that. That 1 minute that comes after. You don't know if you're going to make it or not. If you're going to live for this other hour or not. That 1 day, that 1 hour, that 1 week is what? It's been taken hostage. And every day is given to you if you deserve to have it. If not, it's not given to you. No. You are now in an anniversary of a young man who, if you look at our standards, didn't live for a long time. So when it comes to death, doesn't have any time or age limit that if I reach that age, I'm getting close to death. No. That's why if you go to a cemetery, if you look around, whether that it's in Lippenton or that's in Rockwood, wherever you go, or Wadi Salam, you look around, different ages, male and female. We haven't got to another gender. This is all two we have, male and female. So male and female, and different when it comes to status of life. One is poor, the other is rich. One is powerful, the other is weak. Different ages. That's why Khidr, he entered a village and he went into this village cemetery. You know, every village, every city has a cemetery. When he entered to the cemetery of that village, he looked around. He saw that the ages written on the tombstone are 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 7 months, 5 years, random numbers, all children ages. A person was walking by. He said, "Team, come here. I have a question." He said, "Go on." "Is this a cemetery for children?" He said, "No. Actually, they're all adults here." He said, "How come but on the tombstone is written 7 years, 6 months, 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, all under the age? They are children." He said, "No. When it comes to us, we don't put the actual age on the tombstone. We put the age or the time this person was beneficial to the others, to the community. If he lived for 90 years, you see that person there, that tombstone, that person lived for 90 years. But from all of that 90 years, 5 years of it was good for the people, for himself. He benefited from that. He gave something back. So we didn't write 90, we wrote 5. And the rest are the same. This is why we write. If you come, look at your own lives, and you see the ages that we have, 37, 40, 50, 10, 15. How many years of that was beneficial for yourself and for others? الدنيا مزرعة what? آخرة. Why does it say الدنيا مزرعة الآخرة? It means that in this life, you have to put in to the soil the seed and let it grow. The harvesting is in the next life, not in this life. Not in this life. So 5, 6, and that's why the Imam here says, the Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdal as-salati was-salam says, وَرَهِينَةِ الْأَيَّامِ. And then the Imam says, وَرَمِيَّةِ الْمَصَائِبِ. Masa'ib, tragedy comes day after day. What? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you that you're going to have a perfect life? This promise wasn't made to anyone, even to the prophets. You think it was meant to you? Life is like a roller coaster. One day is up, one day is down. One day is good money, one day there is no money. One day there is health, one day there is no health. That's what life is. For a person to think, no, everything has to be 100%, everything has to be perfect, everything has to be sweet, everything has to be flawless. This is not the case. It's never going to be like that. One day you're going to have bitter, what is a tragedy. You're going to lose a son, you're going to lose a wife, you're going to lose a husband, you're going to lose a brother, you're going to lose a friend. The next day, you have what? You have weddings, you have birthdays, you have many other things. Every day is different. The Imam here is saying that masa'ib that are thrown at you. And here, either you pass or you fail. Fail like what? Like that glass right there, that window. If you look at it, if a person takes a stone or a rock and throws at that, what happens to it? It will break. It will break. Even if there is a Elon Musk truck that he demonstrated, he wanted to show that it's bulletproof, but it wasn't. So you throw at that, it will break into hundreds of pieces, thousands of pieces. Some people are like that. As soon as a tragedy comes to them, that's it, he's done. You have to live and you have to pass the test for you to become stronger and stronger and stronger. Not that I lose my path. And then the Imam says, وَعَبْدَ الدُّنْيَا. Imam Ali to Imam al-Hasan is saying that. But I said, it's a father saying to a son. Why does he say عَبْدَ الدُّنْيا? Abd. We are all abid al-dunya. Because we are always in need of what? Essentials. Can I go a day without water? Can I go a day without food? Can I go a day without sleep? I'm always in need of something. If it's cold, I need the heater on. If it's hot, I need the AC on. If the car is not comfortable, I go after a better car. If the house is not comfortable, I go after a better house. I'm always in need of something. I'm up to this dunya because I'm always in need of the essentials of the dunya. Always. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? Allahus samad. Allah is what? Allah doesn't need anything. He doesn't need to eat, drink, sleep. But we are always in need of something. If I am tired, I need to rest. I can't go by a day or two without resting. وَتَاجِرَ الْغُرُورِ, trader of ghurur, the Imam says here. That means what? That ghurur that you have, you are a tajir of it. Some people that are what? Sellers of the ghurur. Some people are tajir of the ghurur, trader of ghurur, trader of this. And then the Imam says, وَغَرِيمَ الْمَنَايَا وَأَسِيرَ الْمَوْتِ. Again, the Imam goes back to death. That you are prisoner of death. You are prisoner of death. In this very Nahjul Balagha, Sharif al-Radhi, Radwanullah ta'ala alayh, he also brings kalimat al-qisar of the Imam. Those short sentences of the Imam. One of them is this, نَفَسُ الْمَرْءِ خُطَاهُ إِلَىٰ أَجَلِهِ. That breath that you're taking right now, the exhale, the inhale that you're doing is one step closer for you, for me, to death. The Imam says here, وَأَسِيرَ الْمَوْتِ. We are all prisoners of death. Prisoners of death. This is just merely the introduction of this letter. I told you it's the longest letter. I'm not going to be here for another hour. Just short and summarized of what the Imam is saying here. وحليف الهموم وقرين الأحزان ونصب الآفات وصريع الشهوات وخليفة الأموات أما بعد. This is the first introduction, and then the Imam goes into the second introduction. The Imam goes into the second introduction. Inshallah, tomorrow night we speak about this, to the part that the Imam alayhi afdalus salati was salam says these famous words to his son Imam al-Hasan Almujtaba alayhi afdalus salati was salam, Kareem Ahl al-Bayt, وجدتك بعضي. وجدتك بعضي. He's saying that to Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba, that I find you to be part of me. And then the Imam says, no. بل وجدتك كلي. I see you to be my whole, my everything. And that shows the status of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdalus salati was salam, Kareem Ahl al-Bayt. That when it comes to the Shia sect, when it comes to this very Imam, we don't do justice to the Imam, do we? Once a year we celebrate his birthday on the 15th of Shahr Ramadan al-Mubarak, and once a year we do the Ma'tad of the Imam. If you compare this to Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, way different. Imam al-Hussein 2 months, it doesn't mean that we don't do, of course, 365 days a year if we weep for Ahlul Bayt. Altogether is not enough. If you look at this very letter, that is still relevant today. And that shows the miracle of our Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and his eloquency, that today, this manuscript, I can take it, and this can be a curriculum, a full curriculum, taught in every school. Even the United Nations can take this and put it forward in every single educational facility around the world, of what the Imam is saying here to his beloved son. And of course, for the father, for his son. For the mother, for her son, for her daughter. And then the Imam says here, بل وجدتك كلي حتى كأن شيئا لو أصابك أصابني. If something strikes you, it's as if it has striken me. Has come and has striken me. And because I'm your father, not just that, I'm your father. If you look at the ahadith in the merits of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, for example, this very famous hadith that we always utter it, we always mention it. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم حسين مني وأنا من حسين أحب الله من أحب حسينا وأبغض الله من أبغض حسين. This very same hadith, you find it حسن مني وأنا من حسن أحب الله من أحب حسنا وأبغض الله من أبغض حسن. But it comes to this small sect of people, group of people, where they question the very motives of the Imam. That why did the Imam go ahead and go through with the peace treaty with Muawiyah? They just mentioned that. If you look at the history of Imam Hasan Almujtaba, you find the other sides, because of their animosity toward the Hassanis, toward the sons of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, they put forward many wrong things. One of them was this, about the peace treaty with Muawiyah, and the other one was that they mentioned that Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba married more than 100 women and divorced them. And they come up with this fabricated hadith that Rasulullah went on the minbar and he said, don't give any woman to Hasan. Don't marry him because he's what? Midwaq. Or he's a divorcee. He divorces every day. If you look at it in the timeline of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam, how old was Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba? For you to come and mention such a fabricated hadith, that even if you look at this timeline, you see Imam al-Hasan at that time was 4 or 5. At that time, Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba was what? Mutlaq. He was marrying and divorcing people back and forth. But they mention this, unfortunately. Or they say that the Imam was a coward because he didn't fight Muawiyah. Looking at the conditions of the peace treaty of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba and Muawiyah, you see that Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba paved the road for the Imam al-Husayn's revolution. Look at it. Go through it. Go through the peace treaty. Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba died what year? 51 AH. Imam al-Hussein died what year? 61 AH. So how many years between them? 10 years. Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalu salati wassalam respected that peace treaty of his brother Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba and the 8 conditions. Go through them to see that when Muawiyah died, then the Imam started his revolution. And the Imam said those famous words, مثلي لا يبايع مثله. 15th of Rajab, 60 AH. And the Imam came out of Medina, 28th of Rajab, 60 AH, after the death of Muawiyah. And the Imam said to Marwan ibn al-Hakam, alayhi la'anullah, ala al-Islam as-salam, if a person like Yazid is going to want to take the realms of the Khilafah, but that 10 years from the martyrdom of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba to the death of Muawiyah, Imam al-Hussein respected the peace treaty of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba. Hence the hadith of the Prophet where he said, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein imaman qama aw qa'ida. Qama means in what? Standing up and sitting down, that literal meaning of it? No. Qama means what? The revolution. And qa'ida means a peace treaty. And if Imam al-Hasan was in the time of Imam al-Hussein, he would do exactly what Imam al-Hussein did, and of course vice versa. So the Imam says, حتى كأن شيئا لو أصابك أصابني وكأن الموت لو أتاك أتاني. If death comes to you, as if it has come to me. فعناني من أمرك ما يعنيني أو يعنيني من أمر نفسي فكتبت إليك. Here the Imam says why he has written this, that I see this as if I stay with you alive, take this letter to heart, and if I die, also take this letter to heart. Then the Imam jumps into the wasiyah. First in first, the Imam says, فَإِنِّي أَوْصِيكَ بِتَقْوَى اللَّهِ. That's number 1. Taqwa Allah. Piety. And the foundation of everything that we have is piety, God conscious. To be a person, to be God conscious, is to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to hold on to the rights of other people, not just I fear God the Almighty. The Kharijites claimed that they feared God. They kill a person, they kill his wife, they kill the baby that was in the wombs of the woman, and then they go back to the prayer and the recitation of Quran. What kind of religion is that? And they claim that they fear God the Almighty. So the Imam starts with this. فإني أوصيك بتقوى الله أي بني. That's number one. ولزوم أمره. And inshallah tomorrow night we jump into the rest. But here the Imam comes to the part and the Imam says وعمارة قلبك بذكره. This is a very important part where the Imam says that you hold on to this with what? With remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence the hadith of Imam al-Sadiq Ja'far ibn Muhammad where he says لو أحب الله عبدا قذف في قلبه حب الحسين وحب زيارته ولو أبغض الله عبدا قذف في قلبه بغض الحسين وبغض زيارته. This very majalis is remembering who? Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. Is remembering Imam al-Hasan. That heart needs constantly for what? Revival. Every time, every day. If you leave it be, the whole heart dies. The whole heart dies and it's very hard to bring it back. In this very letter, the Imam says, don't sit with the mota, with the dead. Don't sit with the mota, with the dead? What do you mean? He says, yes, there are many people that in heart, soul, dead. But physically, he talks and he breathes. But deep down inside, this person is dead. There's nothing coming out of that person. Nothing. There's no mu'adha. There's no advice. There's nothing that it benefits other people. And that's important for a person to abide to that and continue with these programs. And this shab that I personally had relationship with him when he was very young, very young. He started in our school. I was his teacher until the very last days of his life. Rahmatullah alayh. And many of the students here remember him. Many of the classmates of his, they remember him. That this coming to this majalis, this coming to these schools, and remembering Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus salati was salam makes you immortal. Even though this person died, the chapter of his life was shut down after he closed his eyes, but as if he's living with us even today, because he, even though he was very young, he had written his name, and even his father, his mother, they have written their name as servants of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam. And a person, if they want to really achieve immortality, al-khulud, you follow Imam al-Hussein. Therefore, you can achieve it. You can hold on to it. Because Imam al-Hussein himself achieved that immortality. كذب الموت فالحسين مخلد كلما مر الزمان ذكره تجدد. Every year, the name of Imam al-Hussein revives itself as if Imam al-Hussein was killed yesterday. 1,384 years has passed since his martyrdom, as if he just yesterday was Ashura, as if yesterday Ruqayya was in the Kharaba, as if yesterday Ruqayya, she held on to the head, the decapitated head of her father, and she called out that on my young age, a 3-year-old daughter of Imam al-Hussein, I was made an orphan. 3-year-old. Not just Imam al-Hussein himself. The Imam, of course, is beyond time. He's not bound to time or to a place. Even his daughter, Sayyida Ruqayya salamullahi alayha, she shaked the very foundation of Yazid's castle with those cries. Those cries calling out for her father, Imam الحسين عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخته العقيلة، عقيلة الطالبيين زينب الكبرى، وأخيه أبا الفضل العباس، ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، اللهم عجل فرجه، سهل مخرجه، اجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل عواقب أمورنا خيرا، يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب، ثبت قلبي على دينك. الفاتحة قبلها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.